All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children. Men will die for their wives and children. And God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. And the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus est. Are you chicken? Roosters will rule the rust in Recreating Western Civilization. Written by Conrad, Riker. Available now, links in description. Men and self-sufficiency. A cold shower for comfortable lies. You have been trained to call a bruised feeling a broken bone. Somewhere between the shuttering of the grammar school and the opening of the HR department, the West underwent a silent, devastating substitution. The trivium was replaced with the phelium, and the rugged pursuit of truth was sacrificed to appease the tender egos of those who worship their own emotional weather. When a modern citizen shouts that your words cause them harm, they are wielding a satanic inversion that equates subjective offense with objective injury, demanding the entire cosmos shrink to accommodate their psychological fragility. If offense is harm and harm is whatever you feel it is, then the most fragile tyrant rules, because a society governed by the avoidance of bruised feelings is not a civilization. It is a nursery for the perpetually outraged. Consider the etymology of their game. It is a cluster of traits rooted in a petty sweetness, a cloying self-pity that preserves the ego in its own sugary juice while attracting the flies of dependency and state intervention. This is the mark of an arrested soul, one stuck in pre-conventional childishness, demanding the world act as a mother, soothing every discomfort. The education system, having abandoned natural law and logos, has not taught these minds to distinguish the map, their internal feeling, from the territory, objective reality. Instead, they have been taught that strength is aggression, that resilience is pathology, and that the rooster is to blame for the dawn because its crowing shattered their safe, comfortable sleep. Strength is recoded as violence. Weakness is recoded as virtue. To repair a mind infected with this inversion, you must pick up the sword of Socratic inquiry and cut the slogan down to the bone. Ask, what is harm? Is it the breaking of a bone or the bruising of an ego? If 2 men hear the same truth, and one is liberated and the other is offended, is the truth guilty, or is the listener untrained? Return to the grammar of reality, the logic of natural law, and the God who is Logos. Rebuild the distinction between the internal kingdom of the soul, which a man must govern, and the external kingdom of law, which must protect rights, not police emotions. True freedom is found in apatheia, the command of irrational passion, and in the unshakable virtue of standing firm against the winds of manipulated grievance. The world owes you no comfort, and your feelings are not facts. Offense is a choice, harm is a fact. The rooster does not apologize for the dawn. He crows because the sun has risen, and the day belongs to those strong enough to build within it. The repair in 1 page. Misapprehension. The belief that subjective offense is an objective harm equivalent to physical injury, requiring institutional protection and apology. Central error. Equivocation between offense, a subjective emotional response, and harm, an objective injury to rights, property, or body. It confuses the map, feeling with the territory, reality, and elevates the ego's comfort above the soul's growth. Restoration. Restore the distinction between the internal kingdom, soul feelings, and the external kingdom, law reality. Reclaim the right to be disliked. Train the soul in apatheia, not indifference, but freedom from irrational passion. Return to the transcendentals. Truth is not what feels good. Goodness is not what is safe. Beauty is not what is pleasing to the eye. Men must stand firm in logos, unshaken by the wind of opinion. The Socratic ladder. Define harm. Is it the breaking of a bone or the bruising of a feeling? If harm is subjective, can two people experience the same event as one harm and one joy? If harm is subjective, who is the judge of its magnitude, you or the state? If the state judges your feelings, do you have any private inner space left? Define offense. Is it a signal of danger or a signal of growth? When you are offended, is the world wrong or is your expectation wrong? If you demand the world change to stop your offense, are you the master or the slave of your emotions? What virtue is trained when you are always protected from offense, courage, or complacency? What vice is trained when you demand apology for mere existence, pride or resentment? Is it more just to punish the man who spoke or to strengthen the man who heard? If lived experience is the highest truth, can a man ever know a woman's truth, or vice versa? Does the rooster crow because the hen is offended or because the sun has risen? If you are harmed by a word, is the word the cause, or your interpretation the cause? Can you name a single great achievement in history that was not offensive to someone? If you cannot withstand offense, can you withstand war, death, or loss? Are you seeking truth, or are you seeking comfort? Final question: if your offense is the highest law, who protects you when the world offends you in a way you cannot control? The modern misapprehension in the wild. The tyranny of the tender ego. A scene in 4 movements. I. The complaint. The seminar room smelled like coffee and lavender. The whiteboard still read, Justice Net Revenge. Marcus had drawn it during his opening lecture on Book I of the Republic. Kayla spoke first. Her voice was practiced and soft, like someone who'd spent time describing her feelings to people paid to listen. So, I need to flag something. During your explanation of Thrasymachus, you used the word tyranny kind of casually, and you raised your voice a little, and I just want you to know that created an unsafe space for me. I'm actually shaking right now. I feel violated. Marcus set down the chalk. Violated? Yes, like your energy was aggressive, and several of us noticed it. I don't feel safe continuing in this environment. She looked around the room. 2 students immediately nodded. One already had her phone out, thumb hovering, ready to make something exist on a platform that would outlast the conversation. Oh, the demand. What would you like me to do? Marcus asked. I think you need to acknowledge the harm you caused, and I think the department should issue some kind of statement about creating spaces where students don't have to experience this kind of violence. Violence, Marcus repeated. Yes, linguistic violence. This is well documented. Dr. Prescott has written extensively about it. She named a scholar no one in the room had read, including herself. The name functioned as a seal, as though saying it closed the argument like a wax stamp on a royal decree. So, you'd like a formal statement from the department. I'd like accountability. I think that's the bare minimum. Honestly, the fact that you're interrogating me right now, instead of just listening, is itself a form of harm. This is exactly what the literature calls secondary traumatization. She was using words like bricks. Each one was meant to close a window. Harm, violence, accountability. Trauma. Each one carried the weight of a courtroom without the inconvenience of evidence. 3. The challenge. Marcus sat on the edge of the desk. He spoke slowly. Kayla, I want to understand. Can you define harm for me? She blinked. I just told you No, you told me you felt it. I'm asking what it is. If I break your arm, that's harm. If I steal your car, that's harm. What exactly was broken or taken? My sense of safety. Was your safety actually threatened, or did you feel a strong emotion? Those are the same thing. Are they, if I feel poor, am I poor? If I feel like I'm flying, am I flying? That's a false equivalence. Maybe, but you haven't shown me how. You've asserted it. Let me try another question. You said several people noticed my energy. Can one of them describe what I actually said that was false? Silence. Was anything I said about Thrasymachus incorrect? More silence. So the content was accurate. The delivery caused a feeling, and you're asking an institution to issue a statement about a feeling. I'm asking you to take responsibility for your impact. Can you distinguish impact from harm? If I give you a B- and you feel devastated, did I harm you? Or did you have an emotional response to an evaluation? This is so typical. You're weaponizing logic to avoid accountability. What if logic is accountability? What if the reason you can't define your terms is that the terms are doing work they were never built to do, shutting down questions you can't answer? IV. The collapse? Kayla's lower lip trembled, not from sorrow, from the shock of being asked. She had been trained in a language that treated questioning as aggression and definitions as violence. Every tool she carried was a shield. None was a shovel. She could not dig toward truth because she had never been taught that truth was buried. She had been taught it was felt. I don't have to debate my own lived experience with you, she said, and the words came out like a recording. Clean, rehearsed, final. You're right, Marcus said. You don't, but you came to a university, not a diary. You asked for an institutional response. Institutions run on evidence and definition, not on the inner weather of their members. If you want the power of a court, you must accept the rules of a court. If you want the comfort of a therapist's office, you must stay there and stop demanding that the world be remade in the shape of your nervous system. She stood. I'm going to the Title 9th office. I know, Marcus said. That's the only move you have. That's the tragedy. She left. The two nodders followed. The phone had already posted. The whiteboard still read, Justice in not equal revenge. Nobody read it. The light through the window fell on the empty chairs like a verdict no one had requested. The Socratic restoration. The misapprehension. A woman says a man's tone of voice made her feel unsafe. The institution treats this as injury. A student says a lecturer's argument caused distress. The university launches an investigation. A coworker reports that a joke made the environment hostile. Human resources convenes a tribunal. In each case, the same sleight of hand operates, a subjective emotional response. A feeling of discomfort, unease, or resentment is reclassified as an objective harm, equivalent to theft, battery, or trespass. Once that reclassification succeeds, the institutional machinery grinds into motion. Apologies are demanded, speech is restricted, careers are damaged, records are created. The misapprehension is not merely an error. It is a weaponized error. It does not merely confuse two categories. It collapses them deliberately, so that the person who controls the definition of harm controls the behavior of everyone around him. And the person most skilled at performing injury, most fluent in the therapeutic vocabulary, most rehearsed in the theater of fragility, gains arbitrary power over every conversation, classroom, workplace, and courtroom he enters. Consider what must be true for the misapprehension to hold. First, feelings must be treated as facts, not as data about the person feeling them, but as direct reports about external reality. Second, the link between stimulus and suffering must be assumed to be causal and one-directional. The speaker caused the pain, the listener had no interpretive role. Third, the severity of the alleged harm must be measured by the intensity of the feeling rather than by any external standard. Fourth, the remedy must involve control over the speaker's conduct, not discipline of the listener's internal state. Each of these propositions is false. Each can be demonstrated false by examples so ordinary that their falsity is nearly self-evident. Yet the propositions survive because they serve institutional interests. They expand jurisdiction, justify administrative growth, and provide a permanent mechanism for enforcing ideological conformity without the inconvenience of debate. The man who wishes to resist this machinery must first understand what it is. It is not compassion misapplied. It is not kindness gone too far. It is a counterfeit catechesis, a systematic re-education in which the soul is trained to treat its own reflexes as revelation, and the world is required to kneel before them. Where the false lesson came from, the error did not fall from the sky. It was built brick by identifiable intellectual movements over the past century and a half. The therapeutic revolution. Psychology which began as a medical discipline investigating pathology, metastasized into a total worldview. By the mid-20th century, the vocabulary of therapy had escaped the clinic and colonized everyday speech. Words like trauma, trigger, toxic, boundary, and validation migrated from clinical contexts, where they had precise technical meanings, into general discourse, where they became blunt instruments for shutting down disagreement. The result? Every unpleasant experience became a wound, every disagreement became an assault, and every person became a patient requiring institutional protection from the ordinary friction of human life. Safetyism. The educational philosopher Jonathan Haidt documented how American parenting and schooling shifted dramatically after the 1990s, treating children as fragile objects who would shatter upon contact with contrary ideas. The philosophy of helicopter parenting combined with institutional risk aversion to produce a generation trained to interpret discomfort as danger. This was not an accident. It was the logical fruit of a worldview that denied the existence of a resilient human nature, what Steven Pinker identified as the blank slate dogma. If the mind is nothing but a passive surface on which society writes, then any unwanted word constitutes damage to the surface, and the surface requires constant professional maintenance. The Frankfurt School's deployment of psychic injury. Herbert Marcuse, in his 1965 essay, Repressive Tolerance, argued that tolerance should be withheld from movements and ideas of the right while being extended to those of the left. He needed a mechanism for distinguishing legitimate from illegitimate speech. The concept of psychic harm, speech that wounds the marginalized, provided exactly that mechanism. Once harmful speech was identified as a category, the institutional left possessed a permanent justification for censorship. They were not suppressing free expression, they were preventing injury. The vocabulary of safety became the Trojan horse for ideological control. Feminist standpoint epistemology. The argument that lived experience constitutes a privileged form of knowledge, available to the oppressed and inaccessible to the privileged, was formalized by feminist epistemologists like Sandra Harding in the 1990s. If a woman's feeling of being harmed is knowledge that a man cannot access or question, then her report of harm is unfalsifiable by definition. Questioning the report becomes itself a form of harm, an epistemic violation compounding the original offense. The loop closes. The accusation cannot be examined without re-triggering it. Postmodern deconstruction of truth. Michel Foucault's analysis of power knowledge provided the philosophical solvent. If truth claims are always masks for power, then the demand for evidence and definition is not a neutral procedural request. It is a move in a power game. The man who asks, "What do you mean by harm?" is not seeking clarity, he is exercising epistemic violence. This move disarms the only tools capable of resisting the misapprehension, logic, definition, and evidence. Institutional incentive structures. The final ingredient was bureaucratic. Title IX offices, HR departments, university bias response teams, and corporate DEI offices all share a structural feature. Their budgets and personnel expand in direct proportion to the number of complaints they receive. There is no institutional reward for dismissing a complaint as unfounded. There is substantial institutional risk, reputational, legal, political, in ignoring one. The rational bureaucratic response is to treat every subjective report as actionable, to create records, to require training, to issue statements. The apparatus feeds on the misapprehension and has every incentive to propagate it. The student in the seminar room who claims that a lecture on Thrasymachus caused her to feel violated is not speaking her own language. She is speaking the language of 4 generations of ideological architecture, a pidgin of therapeutic jargon, standpoint epistemology, postmodern suspicion, and bureaucratic self-protection, welded together into a single demand: adjust your reality to accommodate my feelings or face the consequences. Grammar. Define the word. The first act of resistance is grammatical. Before you argue, define harm, noun. An injury or damage to a person, property, or right that is objective, demonstrable, and externally verifiable. A broken arm is harm. Stolen property is harm. false imprisonment is harm. The elements are 1. An identifiable injury, 2. A causal connection to the defendant's conduct, 3. Measurable impact, 4. External verification possible. Without these elements, the word is being used metaphorically, and metaphors are not crimes. Offense, noun, a subjective emotional response of resentment, anger, or discomfort in reaction to a stimulus. The elements are 1. An internal experience, 2. Mediated by the listener's interpretation, 3. Varying by individual temperament and history, 4. Not externally verifiable, except through the listener's self-report. Offense is real as a psychological experience. It is not real as an injury to the person in any legal, moral, or metaphysical sense that would require institutional remedy. Safety, noun. A condition of being free from objective danger, physical, financial, or legal. A locked door provides safety. A functioning legal system provides safety. A firearm in trained hands provides safety. The word has been hijacked to mean freedom from psychological discomfort, which is not safety but insulation. A padded cell provides that kind of safety. So does a dictatorship. Violence, noun. The use of physical force to damage or destroy, the word has been metaphorically extended to cover speech, linguistic violence, silence, epistemic violence, and even thoughts, cognitive violence. This extension is not merely imprecise, it is predatory. If words are violence, then words may be met with violence in self-defense. The metaphor authorizes physical retaliation against speech, which is precisely the goal. Trauma, noun, clinical. A psychological injury resulting from exposure to actual or threatened death, serious injury, or sexual violence, producing lasting neurobiological dysregulation per DSM-5 criteria. The word has been diluted to mean any distressing experience which renders it useless for its original purpose and exploitative in its new one. The student who claims trauma from a lecture is stealing vocabulary from the soldier, the assault survivor, the accident victim, weaponizing their suffering to silence her professor. The grammatical repair is simple, relentless, and devastating. Every time someone uses these words, ask, "What exactly do you mean?" Not "What did you feel?" but "What is the thing you're naming?" Hold the word still. Demand its definition. Separate the metaphor from the literal, the subjective from the objective, the feeling from the fact. A statute cannot baptize injustice. Neither can a metaphor create an injury. Etymology. Recover the root. Words carry their histories in their bones. Recover the root, and the slight becomes visible. Offend comes from the Latin offendere, or be against, plus fendere, to strike. Literally, to strike against. In its original sense, it meant to bump into something, to encounter resistance. The word preserved this physical meaning for centuries. He offended his foot against a stone meant he stubbed his toe. The emotional sense, to wound feelings, is a secondary derivative meaning. The etymology tells us something profound. Offense is fundamentally about collision, about encountering something that resists your path. It is an event of contact, not of injury. The stone is not guilty. The path is not malicious. The foot simply met what was there. Harm derives from the Old English herm, grief, sorrow, injury, evil. Its Germanic cognates, German harm, Old Norse harmer, all point to a serious wound, a genuine evil. The word carries weight. It was never meant for trifles. To say hirm in Anglo-Saxon England was to name something grave, an injury requiring remedy, compensation, or vengeance. The trivialization of harm into "my feelings were bruised by your lecture" is a desecration of the word's ancestral seriousness. Violence comes from the Latin violentia, impetuosity, force, vehemence. The root vis means force, strength, power. The word has always carried the weight of physical violation. To extend it to speech is not mere metaphor. It is a category violation that corrupts the word's core meaning and equips the user with a false moral warrant for retaliation. Trauma comes from the Greek trauma, traumo, a wound, specifically a bodily wound. In Homeric Greek, it always means physical injury. The medical extension to psychological injury is legitimate, but requires the gravity of the original. A wound, not a discomfort. The casual deployment of trauma to describe every unpleasant feeling is a form of linguistic looting. stealing the gravity of real suffering to inflate the significance of trivial complaints. Safety comes from the Latin salvus, uninjured, intact, whole. The root is the same as salvation and salve. To be safe is to be whole, physically intact, not damaged. The extension to psychological wholeness is defensible only if damage is defined with the same rigor as physical damage. If mere discomfort counts as damage to wholeness, then no one is ever whole, and the concept of safety becomes meaningless, a permanent crisis requiring permanent institutional management. The etymological recovery reveals the pattern. Each word has been hollowed out, inflated, and redeployed. Serious terms for serious injuries have been commandeered for trivial complaints. The result is not merely linguistic sloppiness. It is a systematic corruption of the vocabulary needed to distinguish genuine injustice from manufactured grievance. Logic, test the claim. Now, the logical machinery. The claim under examination is claim. Subjective offense constitutes objective harm requiring institutional remedy. This claim can be tested by formal logic without mercy. Test 1, equivocation. The claim uses harm in two senses. In the premise, harm means subjective distress. In the conclusion, harm means actionable injury requiring remedy. These are not the same word. The argument commits the fallacy of equivocation, the same term used in two different senses within a single inference. Premise, offense causes subjective distress. Hidden shift. Subjective distress is relabeled as harm. Conclusion, harm requires institutional remedy. Therefore, offense requires institutional remedy. The middle term has been switched. The argument is invalid. This is not a matter of opinion. It is a formal logical defect. Test 2. Unfalsifiability. If harm is defined by the subjective report of the person claiming it, then no evidence can disprove the claim. The person says they are harmed. No one else can verify or refute it. The claim is therefore unfalsifiable. By Karl Popper's criterion, an unfalsifiable claim is not a scientific claim. But the problem runs deeper. An unfalsifiable claim used as the basis for institutional action is a totalitarian instrument. It places accuser beyond question and defendant beyond defense. Test 3. Self-application. If the principal offense equals harm is applied universally, then everyone's offense counts as everyone else's harm, but offense is inevitable in any society with disagreement. Therefore, everyone is always harming everyone. The principle produces universal criminality, which is to say, it gives the institution unlimited jurisdiction to prosecute anyone at any time. A rule that makes everyone guilty is not a rule of law. It is a rule of power. Test 4, reciprocity, sex swap test. If a man tells a woman that her tone of voice made him feel unsafe and demands an institutional remedy, what happens? He is dismissed. His feelings are not treated as actionable. The asymmetry reveals the true structure. The misapprehension is not a universal principle. It is a power tool deployed selectively, primarily by women against men and by leftists against conservatives, because the institutional architecture is designed to receive their complaints seriously and to dismiss counter-complaints. Test 5. Limiting principle. If offense is harm, what limits exist? Can a person claim harm from a facial expression, a failure to smile, a correct answer that makes them feel inadequate, a question that exposes their ignorance? Each of these has, in fact, been treated as actionable in real institutional settings. There is no limiting principle because the harm is defined entirely by the accuser's subjective state, which has no floor or ceiling. Test 6, causal analysis. The claim assumes a direct causal link between the stimulus, speech, tone, word, and the response, harm. But this link is mediated by the listener's interpretation, history, temperament, and ideological training. Two people hear the same lecture. One is enlightened, the other is traumatized. The variable is not the lecture, but the listener. The cause of the distress lies primarily in the listener's interpretive framework, not in the speaker's words. To hold the speaker causally responsible for the listener's interpretation is to deny the listener's agency, a move that infantilizes the very person it claims to protect. Test 7, counterexample. Can a person hear something true, accurate, and necessary and still feel offended? Obviously. A doctor says your blood pressure is dangerously high. The patient feels offended. Has the doctor harmed the patient? Has the patient been injured? The answer is clearly no. The offense signals something about the patient's relationship to uncomfortable truths, not about the doctor's conduct. This counterexample destroys the claim. If offense can be produced by beneficial, accurate, and necessary speech, then offense cannot be a reliable indicator of harm. Test 8. Syllogistic refutation. Major premise: harm requires an objective injury to body, property, or right. Minor premise: subjective offense produces no objective injury to body, property, or right. Conclusion: subjective offense is not harm. This syllogism is valid. The conclusion follows from the premises, and its premises are defensible by common sense, legal tradition, and natural law. The opponent must either deny the major premise, which would mean accepting that every feeling of discomfort is equivalent to a broken bone, a reductio ad absurdum, or deny the minor premise, which would require demonstrating objective injury where none is visible, an unfalsifiable move. The claim fails every logical test. It equivocates, it cannot be falsified. It cannot be applied reciprocally. It has no limiting principle. It misattributes causation, and it is refuted by ordinary counterexamples. It survives not because it is logically sound, but because it is institutionally useful. Virtue. What habit does it train? A society's practices train its people's characters. The misapprehension, offense as harm, trains specific vices and punishes specific virtues. Examine the ledger. Vices trained. Fragility. The person who learns that every discomfort is an injury learns to manufacture injury from every discomfort. The soul becomes thinner, more permeable, more reactive. The skin of the ego becomes so delicate that ordinary social contact produces abrasion. This is not a pre-existing condition being accommodated. It is a condition being created by the accommodation. Resentment. If the world is constantly harming you, if every lecture, joke, look, and syllable is a wound, then the world is your enemy and everyone in it is your assailant. Resentment is the natural fruit. The person trained in the misapprehension becomes a reservoir of grievance, looking for new occasions to fill it. Manipulation. When fragility is rewarded with attention, accommodation, institutional power, the person learns to perform fragility strategically. The theater of injury becomes a tool for controlling others. This is not conscious conspiracy. It is operant conditioning. Behavior that is rewarded increases in frequency. Irresponsibility. If your emotional state is always someone else's fault, you are never responsible for it. You never have to examine your interpretation, challenge your assumption, or discipline your reaction. You are a permanent victim of external forces, and your only task is to report the damage. Sloth of soul. The classical tradition understood that the soul must be trained to endure hardship, to develop what the Stoics called apatheia, freedom from destructive passion, and what the Christian tradition calls long-suffering, patient endurance under affliction. The misapprehension trains the opposite. The soul is taught to amplify passion, to broadcast affliction, and to demand external rescue. Virtues punished. Courage, Andrea. The person who speaks truth knowing it will cause discomfort is punished. The institution labels his courage aggression and processes him through its machinery. The man who endures offense without complaint receives no reward. Invisible virtue goes unrecognized in a system that only counts reported injuries. Fortitude, hypomone. Steadfast endurance, the capacity to stand under difficulty without collapsing, is rendered invisible. If difficulty is reclassified as harm, then endurance looks like denial or complicity. Prudence, phronesis. The judgment to distinguish genuine danger from mere discomfort is attacked as invalidating. The prudent person who says this is not actually harmful is accused of epistemic violence, of denying someone's lived experience. Temperance, sophrosin. The self-governance that keeps emotional response proportionate to stimulus is made impossible when the culture insists that all responses are valid and all feelings are facts. The virtue ledger is clear. The misapprehension produces fragile, resentful, manipulative, irresponsible souls while punishing the courageous, steadfast, prudent, and temperate. This is not a defect of implementation. It is the design. A population trained in fragility requires constant institutional management. A population trained in virtue would govern itself, and the apparatus would be unnecessary. Systems, what happens if everyone believes it? Test the misapprehension at civilizational scale. If the principle offense equals harm becomes universal operating procedure, what happens to the systems that sustain human life? Law, the legal system, collapses under an avalanche of subjective complaints. Courts exist to adjudicate objective disputes, real injuries with real evidence. If every subjective report of distress becomes actionable, the courts drown. Due process becomes impossible because there is no evidence to examine, only feelings to validate. The rule of law is replaced by the rule of the most sensitive complainant. Education, the university, becomes impossible. Education requires the confrontation of uncomfortable ideas, the dismantling of assumptions, the examination of disturbing truths, the practice of disagreement. If discomfort is harm, then education itself is harm. The curriculum narrows to whatever offends no one, which means it narrows to nothing. The university becomes a daycare with a library. Workplaces, productivity collapses as every interaction becomes a potential complaint. Employees spend more time documenting each other's microaggressions than producing goods and services. Risk aversion paralyzes decision-making. Innovation dies because innovation requires challenging existing arrangements, which guarantees offense. Family. The family becomes a complaint factory. Children trained in the misapprehension deploy it against parents, reporting discipline as harm, rules as abuse, correction as violence. Parents become afraid to parent. The state steps in, armed with the same therapeutic vocabulary, and the family dissolves into a set of individual clients managed by bureaucrats. Speech. Public discourse shrinks to the lowest common denominator of sensitivity. No idea can be expressed if anyone might be offended, which means no idea can be expressed. Political debate, religious witness, artistic expression, scientific inquiry all require the possibility of giving offense. Eliminate that possibility and you eliminate civilization. Trusts, social trust evaporates because every interaction carries legal and reputational risk. People withdraw from voluntary association, precisely the civil society institutions that sustain a free people. Atomized individuals turn to the state for protection from each other, and the state, which has every incentive to expand its jurisdiction, is happy to comply. The systemic analysis confirms what the logical analysis demonstrated. The misapprehension is civilizational poison. It does not merely produce bad ideas. It produces a bad society, paralyzed, suspicious, infantilized, and dependent on the very institutions that propagated the error in the first place. The misapprehension is not a bug in the system. It is the system's operating software, and it runs on the hardware of human fragility. The Socratic ladder. The following questions are weapons. Use them in order. In any conversation where someone deploys the misapprehension, do not skip steps. Do not allow emotional derailment. Ask, wait, and hold the answer still before moving to the next question. Rung 1 definition. What do you mean by harm? Is it the breaking of a bone or the bruising of a feeling? Rung 2 distinction. Can you distinguish harm from offense? If not, why do we have two words? Rung 3 subjectivity test. If harm is defined by how you feel, can two people experience the same event differently, one harmed, one not? If so, is the event harmful or not? Who decides? By what standard? Rung 4 reciprocity. If your feelings constitute harm that I must remedy, do my feelings constitute harm that you must remedy? If not, why not? What principle makes your feelings actionable and mine irrelevant? Rung 5 causation. When you feel harmed by a word, what caused the harm, the word itself, or your interpretation of it? If two people hear the same word and one is harmed and the other is not, what is the variable? Rung 6 evidence. Can you show me the injury? Not the feeling, the injury. What was broken? What was taken? What was damaged in a way an external observer could verify? Rung 7 counterexample. Can you name a true statement that has never offended anyone? If every true statement has offended someone, then offense cannot indicate falsehood or harm. Can you name a beneficial statement that has caused offense? If so, can offense be a reliable indicator of injustice? Rung 8, consequence. If everyone operated by your principle, reporting every feeling of discomfort as actionable harm, what would happen to conversation, education, law, and family life? Would you want to live in that world? Rung 9, self-application. Have you ever said something that offended someone? Did you consider yourself guilty of harm? If not, why does your standard apply to others but not to you? Rung 10, responsibility. Who is responsible for your emotional response, you or the person who triggered it? If the trigger is responsible, do you have any inner life that is your own? If the state manages your emotional triggers, what private space remains? Rung 11, virtue. What virtue is trained when discomfort is always treated as injury? What virtue is trained when you must endure what you dislike without demanding rescue? Which training produces a stronger soul? Rung 12, final question. Are you seeking truth or are you seeking comfort? Because they are not the same thing, and the pursuit of one will eventually cost you the other. These questions are not heckling. They are the instruments of a mind that refuses to be governed by slogans. Memorize them, deploy them calmly. Let the silence after each question do its work. Most people who repeat the misapprehension have never been asked to defend it. The questions are not cruelty. They are the first respect a propagandized mind has received in years, the respect of being treated as capable of reason. Back to natural order. The repair begins when a man stops treating his feelings as legislation and starts treating them as information. Feelings are real, they matter, but they are not sovereign. They are messengers, not kings. The natural order of the soul places reason above passion, judgment above impulse, and logos above the weather of the moment. The classical tradition mapped this order with precision. Plato identified three parts of the soul: reason, logistikon, spirit thumoides, and appetite, epithumetikon. The just soul is one in which reason rules. Spirit executes reason's commands with courage, and appetite is governed by both. The soul that places appetite, or its close cousin, unprocessed feeling, on the throne is tyrannized by its own subjects. It is, in Plato's language, a tyrannical soul, and tyrannical souls produce tyrannical politics. The Christian tradition confirmed and deepened this map. The fall in Genesis 3 is precisely the moment when the human being decides to define good and evil autonomously, apart from logos, apart from nature, apart from the given order. The serpent's promise is the original satanic inversion. You shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. But the knowledge promised is not truth. It is self-definition. The fruit delivers exactly what was offered: the capacity to declare reality, whatever the ego prefers. The misapprehension, offense as harm, is the serpent's old fruit, repackaged for the therapeutic age. Its logic is identical. My feeling defines reality. My discomfort defines injustice. My fragility defines your obligation. The satanic inversion is visible in every domain the misapprehension touches. Strength is called aggression. The man who speaks with conviction is pathologized. His clarity becomes harmful energy. His refusal to whisper is recoded as violence. Fragility is called virtue. The person who collapses at the slightest stimulus is elevated. Her sensitivity becomes moral superiority. Her inability to cope becomes everyone else's obligation. Order is called oppression. The standards that make civilization possible, definition, evidence, due process, debate, are reclassified as tools of domination. Rebellion is called liberation. The demand to remake every institution around the feelings of the most fragile is framed as justice. The dismantling of standards is celebrated as progress. This is not a political disagreement. It is a spiritual diagnosis. The misapprehension inverts the order of the soul and the order of civilization simultaneously. It places the servant on the throne and the king in chains. It tells the rooster that his crow is an assault on the hen's sleep, and that the dawn must apologize for arriving. The restoration is simple to state and difficult to live. It requires 4 commitments. First, reclaim the inner kingdom. Your emotional state is your jurisdiction. No external power can govern it without your consent. When you feel offended, examine the feeling. What does it reveal about your expectations, your assumptions, your unexamined beliefs? The offense is not a report about the world, it is a report about you. Read it, learn from it, do not legislate from it. Second, restore the distinction between harm and offense. Harm is objective, demonstrable, and remediable. Offense is subjective, transient, and educational. Reserve the machinery of remedy, apology, institutional action, legal intervention for genuine harm. Treat offense as an occasion for self-examination and growth. Third, train the soul in virtue. The classical virtues are not abstractions, they are disciplines. Courage is the habit of acting rightly in the presence of fear, and the primary fear in the therapeutic age is the fear of being disliked. Fortitude is the habit of enduring what is unpleasant without demanding rescue. Prudence is the habit of distinguishing genuine danger from mere discomfort. Temperance is the habit of keeping your passions proportionate to their objects. These virtues cannot be trained in an environment that treats every discomfort as an emergency. They require friction, challenge, and the possibility of failure. Fourth, build institutions that serve logos, not fragility. The family, the church, the school, the workplace, the court. Each must be ordered toward truth, not comfort. This means defending due process against the mob, defending evidence against accusation, defending debate against censorship, and defending the ordinary difficulty of human life against the totalitarian impulse to make everything safe, smooth, and managed. The man who does these things will not be popular. He will be called harsh, unfeeling, dangerous. He will be reported, flagged, and processed. Let him be. The rooster does not apologize for the dawn. His job is not to make the hen comfortable. His job is to announce the light, to defend the flock, and to stand in the order that God established when He separated the day from the night and called it good. The natural law is not a suggestion. It is the grammar of reality. A statute can deny it. An institution can ignore it. A civilization can forget it. But the appeal is never final, because the court above the court never closes. If law denies nature, nature takes the appeal, and nature always wins. Aphorisms for the road. Law without logos is force with stationery. A statute cannot baptize injustice. Neither can a metaphor create an injury. Procedure cannot cleanse evil. The Nuremberg defense is legal positivism with blood on its hands. If law denies nature, nature takes the appeal. Rights without duties become appetites with armed clerks. Natural law is the court above the court. Define before you obey. A question can be a sword with clean conscience. False certainty fears examples. Contradiction is where truth enters. Make the claim, hold still. A calm question often beats an angry speech. The rooster does not apologize for the dawn. Offense is a choice, harm is a fact. Strength is not the absence of feeling, but the command of it. Truth is not a democracy. Courage is the first virtue because it guarantees all others. Your feelings are not facts. The world owes you no comfort. The ego is a fragile thing. Build a soul instead. Resentment is the poison you drink, expecting the other to die. Speak truth, even if your voice shakes. If your offense is the highest law, who protects you when the world offends you in a way you cannot control. The man who needs to be right is a boy who needs to be praised. Purpose is not oppression. Purposelessness is freedom without telos is appetite with paperwork. A man becomes free by becoming answerable. Fatherhood is telos made flesh. Logos give stars grammar and men duty. A real man is appetite under law. Production is masculine speech made visible. Truth becomes manly when it becomes duty. Crow at the dawn. Field cards and aphorisms. Field manual. Dismantling the micromelli spirit. Card 1, the equality of feeling and fact. False lesson. Your subjective experience of offense is identical to objective injury and demands the same institutional remedy. Socratic question: if two men hear the same sentence and only one claims harm, is the sentence the wound or the interpretation? Classical repair. Restore the distinction between offense, an internal transient reaction of the ego, and harm, an objective violation of body, property, or right. Conflating the two destroys law and installs the most fragile psyche as tyrant. Natural order anchor. In the created order, the external kingdom governs bodies and contracts. The internal kingdom governs the soul. He who merges the two builds a prison with no walls and no exit. Maxim. Offense is a choice. Harm is a fact. Card 2. Fragility as virtue. False lesson. Broadcasting your vulnerability is proof of moral superiority, and strength is evidence of sin. Socratic question. What courage is cultivated in a soul that has never been required to endure the wind? Classical repair. Recover Andrea, manly endurance. The classical tradition trains the soul to withstand the slings of fortune and the sting of words without collapsing. Fragility is a vice dressed in the garments of the cross. Natural order anchor. The cosmos rewards what survives the storm. To pathologize resilience is to declare war on nature's grammar itself. The rooster does not apologize for the dawn simply because the owl prefers the dark. Maxim. Strength is not aggression. Weakness is not grace. Card 3. The word as weapon. False lesson. Speech you dislike is a literal act of violence meriting suppression, punishment, and apology. Socratic question. Can a word break a bone? If not, what precisely has been damaged when you are merely offended? Classical repair. A word is a signifier, a symbol. It possesses no physical force. Your reaction to the symbol belongs to you. To hold another man accountable for your emotional weather is to abolish moral agency entirely. Natural order anchor. Logos, reasoned speech, is the divine gift, distinguishing man from beast. To recode language as violence is a satanic inversion. It dethrones the faculty that builds civilization and crowns the unexamined tantrum. Maxim. The tongue is not a sword. Your interpretation is not a wound. Card 4. The therapeutic state as father. False lesson. The institution exists to validate your feelings, protect your comfort, and punish those who disturb your peace. Socratic question. If the state manages your emotional life, what private inner kingdom remains yours to govern? Classical repair. The state exists to punish objective injustice, not to police subjective discomfort. When bureaucracy expands into the soul's territory, it replaces the father with a clerk in conscience with a compliance form. Natural order anchor. Fatherhood trains adults through discipline, duty, and the transmission of hard wisdom. The therapeutic state qua father produces permanent children, dependents who outsource their emotional sovereignty to an HR department. Maxim. Rights without duties are appetites with armed clerks. Card 5. Comfort as the highest good. False lesson. Safety and emotional comfort are the supreme values to which truth, beauty, and excellence must be sacrificed. Socratic question. Can you name a single great achievement, a single truth, or a single beautiful thing that was never offensive to anyone? Classical repair. The transcendentals, truth, goodness, beauty, stand above comfort. Truth often wounds the ego, beauty often offends convention, the good often demands sacrifice. To rank safety above all three is to worship a small, sterile god. Natural order anchor. The natural order confers telos upon creation. The oak is felled by the axe, not by the whisper. A civilization that cannot endure offense cannot endure reality, and nature always takes the appeal. Maxim. Truth is the anchor. Feelings are the waves. Card 6. The redefinition of violence. False lesson. Disagreement, critique, and uncomfortable evidence are forms of psychological violence requiring institutional suppression. Socratic question. If rational critique is violence, what word remains for the man who strikes your face? Classical repair. Inflation destroys currencies and language alike. When violence encompasses a raised eyebrow and a clenched fist identically, the term loses all moral weight, and real victims are buried under a pile of bruised egos. Natural order anchor. Justice requires proportionate categories. The law distinguishes manslaughter from murder, theft from trespass. Erasing these distinctions in the name of compassion is not kindness. It is the abolition of justice itself. Maxim, inflate the word and you excuse the deed. Card 7, standpoint as invincible shield. False lesson, your identity grants your claims immunity from evidence. To question you is to deny your existence. Socratic question, does the sun require your belief to rise? If a fact offends you, does the fact become false? Classical repair, truth is not a democracy. It is not a demographic. Standpoint may offer perspective, but perspective is not proof. The intelligent man weighs evidence regardless of its courier. The fool worships the messenger and ignores the map. Natural order anchor, the logos orders reality independent of human perception. Reality does not ask your pronouns before it operates. Wisdom begins where the ego surrenders to what is. Maxim, the claim holds still, or the claim holds nothing. Card 8, the right never to be disliked. False lesson, being disliked, misunderstood, or excluded is an injustice requiring intervention and restoration. Socratic question, is it possible for any man to walk the earth without offending someone? And if not, why do you demand the impossible as your right? Classical repair, reclaim the right to be disliked. The classical man does not bend his soul to win the favor of the mob. He speaks truth, accepts the consequence, and sleeps soundly. The compulsive need for universal approval is not virtue. It is vanity wearing compassion's mask. Natural order anchor, the sun scorches the desert and warms the field. It does not apologize for doing both. A man who lives by truth will be loved by some and hated by others. This is not a glitch in the order. It is the order. Maxim, speak truth, even if your voice shakes. Card 9, the relocation of responsibility. False lesson, you are not responsible for your emotional reactions. The external world, other people, and society are. Socratic question, if you are not the author of your interpretations, who then is driving the chariot of your mind? Classical repair, responsibility is the hinge of adulthood. The child demands the world bend to his crying. The man bends his interpretation to the world's reality. To outsource your emotional sovereignty is to remain a child in an aging body. Natural order anchor, apatheia is not the absence of emotion. It is self-mastery over irrational passion. The ordered soul feels the sting and chooses its response. This is what separates the citizen from the slave. Maxim, your pain is not a weapon. Your reaction is your own. Card 10, the cult of the apology. False lesson, demanding public apology and ritual humiliation from dissenters achieves justice and heals harm. Socratic question, does an apology extracted under threat bear any moral weight, or is it merely the sound a weaker man makes to escape the fire? Classical repair, a forced apology is a lie spoken in the grammar of submission. It trains the accuser in tyranny and the accused in cowardice. True repentance is freely offered, born of conscience, not extracted by a mob or an institution terrified of its own shadow. Natural order anchor, confession and repentance are sacred acts between the soul and God, or the offender and the wounded, freely given, never extorted. The show trial apology is a satanic inversion. It crucifies truth to purchase a fleeting peace that vanishes by the next news cycle. Maxim, a coerced apology is legal positivism with blood on its hands. Card 11, the pathologizing of masculine form. False lesson. Male stoicism, competition, hierarchy, and directness are toxic pathologies requiring therapeutic correction. Socratic question. If the qualities that built every wall, road, law, and cathedral are diseased, what healthy thing remains to defend the clinic that diagnoses them? Classical repair. The masculine form resolve, hierarchy, discipline, risk, sacrifice, speech under pressure is not a pathology. It is the load-bearing architecture of civilization. To pathologize it is to dismantle the foundation while demanding the roof remain intact. Natural order anchor. From Genesis onward, the male is assigned to till and keep, to name and order, to build and defend. These are not social constructs, they are written into the architecture of creation. The man who governs himself by logos is not toxic. He is the cornerstone the builders now reject. Maxim. The rooster does not apologize for the dawn. Card 12. Equality as flattening. False lesson. All differences in outcome, preference, aptitude, and nature are injustices engineered by oppression requiring correction. Socratic question. If nature itself produces inequality of form, strength, and telos, by what standard do you declare the oak unjust for towering over the shrub? Classical repair. Equality before the law is justice. Equality of outcome is tyranny. The former respects the diverse forms and ends of creation. The latter abolishes them, grinding all distinct things into a gray, managed paste. Natural order anchor. The created order is hierarchical. Stars govern seas, seas govern shores, fathers govern households, reason governs appetite. Hierarchy is not oppression, it is grammar. Without it, there is no sentence, no meaning, no civilization, only noise. Maxim. Equality of right is justice. Equality of result is vengeance. Card 13. Autonomy without limit. False lesson. Unrestricted personal autonomy is the highest moral achievement. Any limit, nature, or duty is oppression. Socratic question. If your freedom recognizes no boundary, no form, and no telos, what distinguishes it from mere appetite with a philosophy degree? Classical repair. Freedom severed from telos is not liberty, it is drift. The man who acknowledges no duty, no covenant, no natural form, and no creator becomes a slave to his lowest impulse. True freedom is not the absence of restraint, it is the presence of right order. Natural order anchor. Nature without telos is not a cosmos, it is a junkyard. Freedom without final cause is appetite with paperwork. Maxim. A man becomes free by becoming answerable. Card 14. Procedure as purification. False lesson. If a statute, policy, or institutional procedure authorizes an action, it is thereby made moral and just. Socratic question. Did the courts at Nuremberg accept the defense that the guards were simply following legally valid orders? Socratic question. If the answer is no, what authority sits above the statute, the authority that convicted them? Classical repair. Legal positivism, the doctrine that law is whatever the sovereign declares, has blood on its hands. Positive law must answer to natural law, to the moral order written into creation. Procedure cannot cleanse evil. A statute cannot baptize injustice. When law denies nature, nature takes the appeal. Natural order anchor. The court above the court is the logos, the rational, moral order of the cosmos, the same order that hung the stars and condemned the tyrant. Every statute, every bureaucracy, every institution stands under judgment. Those that forget this fact become the machinery of the very evil they were built to prevent. Maxim. Natural law is the court above the court. Card 15. The map is not the territory. False lesson. Your conceptual framework, your theory, your narrative, your lived experience is the complete and total reality, needing no correction from external evidence. Socratic question. If the map says there is a bridge but the river says otherwise, which do you trust and which do you walk upon? Classical repair. Your model of reality is not reality. Your feelings are data, not directives. Your theory is a lens, not the landscape. The intelligent man holds his framework loosely, adjusting it when the territory contradicts it. The zealot burns the territory to preserve the map. Natural order anchor. Truth precedes feeling, form precedes preference, and the logos precedes every narrative ever woven to escape it. Reality is not negotiable. The man who mistakes his map for the territory walks confidently off every cliff and blames the ground for the fall. Maxim. Do not confuse the map with the territory. Card 16. The silence of the logos. False lesson. If you scream loudly enough, ban enough dissenters, and invert enough definitions, reality itself will finally obey your decree. Socratic question. When every rooster has been silenced, does the dawn still come? Socratic question. And when it comes, who will be left to crown? Classical repair. The satanic inversion is nearly complete. Good is called evil. Evil is called good. Order is called oppression. Rebellion is called liberation. But the Logos does not negotiate with mobs. Nature does not hold referenda. The order you dismantle to build your utopia is the order that keeps the wolves from the door. When the last rooster falls silent, the dawn arrives anyway and finds no one left with the courage to greet it. Natural order anchor. The world is not here to heal you. It is here to test you. Stand firm, define your terms, govern your household, speak truth under pressure, crow at the dawn. The Logos rules the chaos, and the chaos is always, always waiting. Maxime, law without Logos is force with stationary. One rule to carry. I leave you with one rule. It is the only discipline that matters when the world demands you kneel before its feelings. Define the word. When they say harm, ask, what do you mean? A broken bone or a bruised ego? When they say violence, ask, a fist or a phrase? Hold the word still. Strip it of its emotional camouflage. A term undefended is a fortress built on fog. Then test the claim. If a statement is unfalsifiable, if no evidence could ever disprove it, it is dogma, not argument. Ask the Socratic question, if roles were reversed, would the rule hold? If your daughter's school expelled her for a look, would you call it justice? If lived experience is supreme, then experience is the final word, and experience is infinite. No conversation ends, only power decides. Expose it. Do not argue with shadows. Make the claim a sentence, then strike. Finally, return to virtue. The rooster crows because the sun has risen, not because the hens approve. Build your soul, produce more than you consume. Govern your appetites before you seek to govern others. A man who cannot say no to his own passions will say yes to every tyrant's slogan. You are not here to be comfortable. You are here to be good, true, and dangerous to disorder. Crow at the dawn. Sponsored book. Are you chicken? Roosters will rule the rust in recreating Western civilization. You think you're tired? Not just sleepy, tired in the bones. Tired of being told you're the problem. Tired of being handed participation trophies while the world burns. You go to work, pay your taxes, try to do right by your family, and still, somehow, you're the villain. You don't rage against the world, you don't want to destroy anything, but you do want to build. You want to wake up and know your life means something. I know that feeling, I've lived it. I stood in my backyard one morning, staring at a patch of weeds, wondering why I felt so hollow. I'd been chasing promotions, scrolling news feeds, nodding along to corporate diversity trainings where men were treated like broken prototypes. Then I heard it, the crow of a rooster, not from a farm. From a neighbor's yard, 3 houses down, and something in me snapped awake. That sound wasn't just noise. It was a challenge, a call, a rejection of the silence we've been trained to accept. I went out and bought 6 chickens that week, not because I suddenly loved birds, but because I was sick of being domesticated myself. We've neutered masculinity and called it progress. We've replaced strength with sensitivity training, courage with compliance, and responsibility with victimhood. But chickens don't care about your trauma. They don't respond to pronouns. They respond to leadership. And when I built my first coop hammer in hand, sweat on my brow, I realized something. I wasn't just building shelter for birds. I was rebuilding myself. The act of creation, real, physical, necessary creation, forces a man to become decisive, patient, vigilant. You can't outsource that. You can't delegate it. You either do it or the fox eats your flock. This book is not about chickens. It's about what chickens reveal. They are living proof that hierarchy isn't oppression, it's order. That dominance isn't abuse, it's protection. That work isn't drudgery, it's dignity. The rooster doesn't apologize for standing tall. He doesn't cede his place to appease the weak. He fights for his flock, guards his territory, and crows at dawn like he owns the sky. And in that he mirrors the man we've been told to suppress. But nature doesn't lie. The pecking order exists because chaos is fatal. The coop must be strong because predators are real. The egg must be guarded because life is fragile. These aren't metaphors, they're laws. And when men stop obeying them, civilization decays. If you're a man who still believes in duty, who wants to provide without begging for permission, who wants to lead without being shamed for it, this book is for you. It's for the man who sees the screen addiction, the fatherless homes, the softness creeping into every institution and says, "This is not strength, this is surrender." You'll learn how to build a coop that lasts, yes. But more, you'll learn how to build a life that matters. You'll see how feeding chickens teaches discipline, how protecting them builds courage, how raising them restores sovereignty. This isn't a hobby, it's a rebellion. If you're not that man, if you believe masculinity is the problem, if you think equality means sameness, if your solution to every issue is more rules and less responsibility, then close this book now. Seriously, put it down. Go watch a Netflix special on emotional intelligence, or start a podcast about your feelings. This isn't for you. You won't understand it. You'll misinterpret it. You'll call it dangerous, when in truth, it's the only thing that's safe. The return to natural order, to truth, to reality. The rest is noise. Men used to raise animals, grow food, defend their homes. Now they binge shows, outsource meals, and let algorithms shape their thoughts. That ends here. The rooster crows at the false dawn of modernity and says, "I am still here." And so are you. You don't need permission to be a man. You need practice. You need dirt under your nails. You need to stand in your backyard at sunrise, not with a phone, but with a shovel. This book will show you how. Not with theory, with action, with truth. The West isn't lost. It's waiting to be rebuilt, one coop, one egg, one decision at a time. Are you chicken? Roosters will rule the rust in recreating Western civilization. Written by Conrad Riker. By now, links in description.